Hi, Santaya. I want to kind of go over the lease with you, and especially Subaru's leases, because everybody's leases are different. And the way ours work is Subaru calls our lease a two-step purchase process. And the reason is because you can buy the car at the end of the lease, of course. But let me kind of give you an example of what makes our leases so special. So if we were to create a timeline, and let's say this is your daughter today, and this is a timeline of the next 6 years. So that would be 72 months, because that's what the average car loan is in America, is a 72-month note. And then I'm going to put a line right here in the middle, which is 36 months, which is the halfway point between here and today. So our leases are calculated at 36 months. Okay, so we'll draw a little car here. We'll go like that, and we're gonna pretend like this is a little Crosstrek. I'm sorry, I'm not much of an artist, but on a lease, you're not paying for the entire car. You're only paying for the part that depreciates for the first 3 years. So you're only paying for this part of the car, not the entire car. So on a regular purchase, if you were to buy a $20,000 car, you would have to pay 10% of that to the government for tax, title, license, registration, all the fees and stuff. That comes out to 10%. So that would literally be $2,000 that your daughter would be throwing away of her hard-earned money, because it does nothing to go toward the principal of the purchase of the car. So that would just be wasted money. On a lease, she's gonna pay between $20 and $25 per month in taxes on the part that depreciates. So she's gonna save a lot of money up front just in taxes. Okay. Now, there's a word that you hear a lot when you talk to people about leases, and that's called the residual. And all the residual is think of it as the value of the car at the end of the lease. Now, when people in the 70s, 80s, and 90s were getting into trouble with leases, that's because this was called an open-ended lease or a floating residual. And basically what that is the value of the car was not locked into the contract. So let me give you an example. Let's say you leased this car and you were expecting a $20,000 residual. Well, because that wasn't locked into the contract, it was left open to the dealers to decide what the value of that car was. So they would go in and say, oh, well, your tires are balled up here, and there's a crack in the windshield right there, and there's a stain on the seat right here, and there's some chips in the paint back here. So yeah, your car's worth $12,000. Now, where your parents and my parents and grandparents would get in trouble is if they didn't have that $8,000 difference between what the residual was supposed to be and what the dealer deemed that car valued at. Then they had to borrow that money from a relative. They had to take that money out of savings. They had to pull it from the college fund. And then, since there was no internet, they would sit around the water cooler or the coffee pot and talk about how bad they got hosed on a lease on a Buick, and to never lease a car because it's horrible. And they were absolutely right, because it gave the dealers all the power, and we know how credible or how trustworthy dealers are. They're not. So that's why Subaru changed all that. And now the residual value is locked into the contract. So if it's $20,000 at the end of the lease, then that's what the car is going to be worth. Now, other protection that Subaru gives you when leasing a car is gap insurance is already built in to every Subaru lease. So if your daughter was to get into an accident, you would just walk away from the car. You would owe no money to Subaru Motor Finance. The car gets paid off completely. Now, another benefit is that your maintenance is included for 2 years. You get a 2-year maintenance package, and that includes oil change, oil filter, cost of labor, tire rotations, everything that your car needs for the first 2 years. It's already covered. So that's less money that's going to be coming out of her pocket because the maintenance is included. And another good thing is that you get 3 years 36,000 miles, bumper to bumper warranty. And that covers all the electronics, all the cameras, all the computers, everything, all the switches, the buttons, the screens, it covers everything in the car for the entire time that the car's leased. So, and then you also get so at the end of the lease, when the lease is up, you're never stuck in a car loan or a long-term payment or contract, because at the end of the 36 months, your daughter has the option to buy the car, she can sell it to a friend or a family member, she could return the car. If she was to return the car, there's a $350 disposition fee or restocking fee. And her other option is to trade it in at the end of the lease. So one way of looking at it is, you go and you spend $24,000, $25,000, $26,000 for a used car, and then you don't know how that person took care of that car. You don't know how that person maintained that car. You don't know anything about that car. But if you were to do it this way, you lease the car up front, and then if she likes it, she loves it, she's never been in any kind of accidents in the car, she's maintained it because it's already taken care of, at least 2 years of the maintenance is taken care of, then at the end of the lease, you buy that car. She's the original owner, that's locked in, the residual is locked in, and then that would be the car to buy, used, because you know how she took care of it. Now, the other cool thing about leasing is if, she was to get into an accident right here, and let's say the car was not totaled. Well, at the end of the lease, that's not the car that she'd want to buy. You would just sell that car back to us or trade that car into us and then get a new car. So if you were to do a purchase and you did a 72-month loan so she doesn't have an astronomical payment, then you get into an accident right here, year 1 or year 2, well, guess what? She's stuck in a car for another 5 years in a car that's been in an accident, whether it's a safe car or not. That's what she's stuck with. But that's why I always say leasing is the best way to go, because it gives you the ultimate flexibility. You're never stuck in the car. You can easily get rid of a Subaru. They hold their value ridiculously well. So yeah, I hope this helps. I'm going to send this over to you. And if you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out to me. Just lower monthly payment, saves money on taxes. And yeah, she's covered and protected all the way around. I hope this serves you well. I'll talk to you later. Bye, Santaya.